AJ, I think the last time we talked to you, you were pretty optimistic that Clevinger could avoid surgery. What changed between then and now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think for us, all these things, like whenever you're dealing with arm issues, and you're kind of dealing with individuals, and you kind of go step by step through the process. I think we're, in Mike's case particularly, he met with, I don't know, probably 4 of the top doctors across the country. Talking about his elbow. Again, like, these things they're not black and white. I think the reports that came back from the beginning were clear from the doctor's standpoint that they felt like that it was an elbow impingement, a posterior elbow impingement, and that an injection was gonna, from looking at the MRI, the imaging, from looking at the way he was presenting, from looking at the office visits, they felt like the injection was going to be what he needed to get through. I think even after the season, after obviously he got hurt again there, or re-injured or re-aggravated, whatever was bothering him in that Dodger playoff game, he went back and went through another series of tests with more doctors. There was doctors that felt like at the time not surgical, and he should be okay going through a rehab process. But as he kind of got through that over the course of the month, and he went back and saw Dr. Kremchek a few weeks later, some things that should have quieted down, and he went and got re-MRI'd multiple times. Ultimately, I think everybody was in agreement that rather than trying to kind of piece it together and get through the next season, I think he felt like I want to go ahead and get this taken care of, have the procedure, and push towards the 2022 season. So I think that's kind of the process. I think we could I could walk through, like, each week kind of felt like it was a little bit different, and we were optimistic at various points in time in the process, especially earlier in the process when the season ended, because we kind of went through the rehab process the last few weeks and he wasn't getting drastically better. And then he went back and saw Dr. Kremchek again. He felt like the surgery was the best route.
Looking back, how do you kind of evaluate the way, I guess, he was handled down the stretch? And I know he pitched through some pain in the postseason. Did that have any impact on things?
I mean, I think, obviously we're looking out for the best interest of Mike. And I think when we made the trade with 3 pennant races in mind. So it wasn't like I think from our standpoint, it was all focused on, this year plus 2 seasons. So I think we were very cognizant in every decision. I think our medical team did a great job of, trying to looking out and understanding, like, his interest in pitching in this year's postseason, versus also what's best for him and what's best for the organization. So we were, like, very cognizant of that throughout the whole time. I think his throwing sessions in between after he got the injection, they got better and better. And I think, again, his going before that Dodger start, he went out and it was a 30-pitch side session, which he was letting it rip. His velocities, all his measurables, the way he felt, the way he looked, all looked like he was ready to go. He was able to then increase his workload even in the game, but when he got back on the second inning, he wasn't able to keep going. So I think it speaks to a couple of things. I mean, I think our team did a good job. Our medical team, training staff, et cetera, they were very aware of both the him wanting to pitch in the postseason, and but also understanding, like, the long-term effects. But also it speaks to Mike. Like, when we traded for him, everybody talked about what a competitor he is. He's a guy that's going to be in it for the team. He's a guy that wants to take the ball. He obviously, I think from that standpoint, for him to go out there and go try and go pitch through whatever he was going through, whatever discomfort he was feeling, I think that speaks to that. I think it'll be, I think it's probably going to serve him well here when he comes back in 2022.
I know it's not the same thing, but the Padres did something similar with Garrett Richards a couple of years ago. And I'm not sure what you think of his return versus the reward of signing a player who was at that time coming off of Tommy John surgery. Now you're re-signing a guy who's having Tommy John surgery. What's the rationale for signing a player who is going to miss an entire season?
Yeah, I think each situation is a little bit different. I think, like, this particular sign with Mike, so sign him to a 2-year deal. I think for us, I think one was getting some cost certainty. You go through the arbitration process, especially this year. You're not really sure how the arbitration process is going to unfold with the shortened major league season. Mike's year, the injury. But I think from our standpoint, having some cost certainty, so we were able to lock that into a budget. We talked to him and his representatives, to the Levinsons and to Anthony Laverty. We talked to them about about looking at it on a 2-year basis. So this year he's not going to pitch for us, so we could take the salary down potentially this year and give us some flexibility from a payroll standpoint. And then next year, when theoretically he should be out there throwing pitches for us, we can bump the salary back up. I think from Mike's standpoint, he gets the certainty of knowing, like, he can do the rehab here in San Diego. He can work with our doctors, our medical team, our training staff. He knows the organization he's going to be in for the next couple of years. And probably a sense of responsibility, like, and loyalty from both sides. We stepped out and made the trade for Mike, and it was with the idea that we were going to get, 3 pennant races basically, and I think I think from his standpoint, he's, he fell in love with the city and the team, and he wants to be here. So I think everybody kind of like looked at it today from a common sense standpoint. This is what's important to the Padres. This is what's important to Mike. And, it lined up on a 2-year deal in this case. So that's why we end up doing the 2-year deal for Mike. Yeah, he's doing well. He's in the Dominican, and that's why each one of these situations are unique, and I think with Denilson, he's been in constant contact with Scott Hacker and our medical team. The reports have been great coming back. He's feeling good. Whereas Mike, the last couple of weeks, just like, he could never really get over that hump. I think with Denilson, he's feeling great. He's going through his program in a really good way. And, it looks like he'll be ready to start his normal throwing program on December 1st, which is normal for him every year. And, I think he's in a good place right now. No, I think it just speaks again, like, it's just the nature of, baseball and these trades and injuries. I think for us, we do our homework and, exchange notes and do our homework. And again, like, I think it speaks to, we've been on the end of a few of these, where you look up and guys come in and they get hurt, and ultimately I go back and look at our process more than, point any fingers or anything like that. I think from our standpoint, that's what trades are about, and I think we understand that injury is part of it. We don't feel like in this situation it was anything that, he came in and it was something that he had when he showed up or anything like that. I think just understand that's the nature of it. And, I think from our standpoint, we're always going to be a group that's going to stand up and say, yeah, we made that trade. We're not looking for any bailout or anything like that. We made the trade with the information we had, and, and ultimately, move forward with it. But, felt like we had full information when we made the deal. And just, in this case, that's part of the game, unfortunately.
AJ, how does this change your approach in the offseason? You just lost a frontline starter.
It doesn't change it a ton, because I think I think for us, when we've kind of started our activity, sitting down and talking about everything, I think we looked at it knowing that in Mike's situation, even if the reports from the doctors were coming back positive and guys felt like initially that, hey, this is not surgical, or this is something that will resolve. I think we understood that, with all these things, like I said, they're black and white, and until you get out there on the mound, it's a little tough to see. So I think we've been looking at it like you never have enough starting pitching because of injuries and because of situations like this. So, I think from our standpoint, we're, pretty much like on point with the things that we've identified for the off season. Adding to our starting mix is almost always something that we'll try to do. Again, I think we have a lot of faith in the pitchers that we have here and on our team. We didn't have Clevinger for a lot of last year, obviously. And, still we're a playoff type team. And I think we expect a lot of guys internally to really step up here in the next couple, in the next few months, and especially next season. So, I think a big part of our success next year will be determined from, the younger pitchers that we have, and from, the guys like Lamet, Paddock, Davies coming back. So again, I think it was really exciting to think about, that rotation with Clevinger in there. But I think again, we, ultimately we feel really good about the guys we have coming back, and it's up to some guys now. It's an opportunity for people to step up and go out and pitch and take a spot and continue to make us, a good club.
In that you guys were having his interest in mind, and the feedback that he and you were getting was that him pitching in the playoffs wasn't going to do anything further. He mentioned that night that he hit his elbow on his knee, and that was something that complicated it. Is that what you guys are? What happened in that game that got him here?
I don't think so. I mean, I honestly that's just, I think everybody, you never really pinpoint exactly when something happens or whatever. I didn't feel like, that, again, I don't know. It's hard to kind of to know exactly when or what, with some of these injuries. Again, I just think from our standpoint, it was a lot of conversation with him, and, we were not going to put him out there if we felt like he wasn't going to be able to perform, and he felt like he was able to perform. Our medical team did, so, we put him out there, and ultimately, end up coming off the field and walking off the mound. So, It's hard to sit there and say, hey, it was this exact moment or this exact point, because obviously the last 2 or 3 weeks he had some ups and downs. There were some really good moments where he was throwing the ball free and easy and looking great. And then obviously he had multiple times where he had to step off the mound and couldn't go. So, my guess is it was something that was in there when he went and took the mound that, was going to happen at some point, or probably had already happened with that Giant start, I think it was, or whatever the doubleheader start. I don't remember who it was, Mariners or somebody like that, when he made the doubleheader start at the end of the year and, kind of felt something in that last inning. And ultimately that ended up, being probably the reason why he's having the surgery right now. Yeah, I mean, I think those guys, they understand that they kind of control their time frame. I mean, I think this organization, whether it's guys like Lucchese or Paddock or Margavicius, when guys show that they've kind of checked the boxes that we ask them to do, that they're going to get opportunity. I think all of those guys got a taste of the the major league environment, some at the major league level and some in that alternate site situation in spring training. So I think they understand there's more chances, more opportunity right now. A guy like Mike Clevinger goes down with an injury that you're banking on for 30 starts. It gives more opportunity, and hope all of our young pitchers and minor league guys, they understand that this creates a void and creates some opportunity for them to go out there and and pitch their way into a rotation. Yeah, it's been kind of a longer process. I think in it's more of our medical team just checking in with him and kind of asking asking like where he was at. So again, I think to me it became something a little bit more like apparent over the last 2 or 3 weeks that this was kind of where this was potentially headed. Because I think like the biggest thing is he knows himself, he knows his body, and when he wasn't bouncing back great, and I don't think he wanted to piece it together this year and look up, and now he has a problem because he's kind of fought his way to May, but he knows he's not fully right. So I think like the biggest thing he expressed to our group was, could I fight my way through this again? The doctors say I can kind of fight my way through this. One of those, 50-50. You're gonna, after he got examined again by Dr. Kremchek and and go out and pitch. But I think for him it was, let me get this taken care of. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to my team, to myself. It was let me get it taken care of, and hopefully I'll be 100% here when I start back on the 22nd and on the 2022 season and go from there. So I think from him, he was, I think again, he was sat down logically, kind of walked through the situation. He wants to pitch, as bad as anybody, but I think he understood that wasn't best for him or the team here going forward. Yeah, I think again, I think Dr. Kremchek's very positive. Again, it's there have been some guys here recently now, Eovaldi and some other guys have come back from a second TJ. Again, I think from it's hard to tell like shelf life on any of the surgeries, especially Tommy John surgery. His was in 2012, so 8 years later or so, he's getting going to get a second one. There are some guys that have come back from in the big leagues. I believe like Joaquin Soria, Chris Capuano, maybe. Eovaldi here recently. There's some other guys, and I think that list will start growing just because it's becoming more and more prevalent, especially for guys to get it cut on at a younger age. But just go off the medical information, go off what Dr. Kremchek and our medical team says. They feel like he should have a really good rehab, and he should be ready to go in April of 2022.
Hi, AJ. You've talked about having faith in a lot of your young pitchers, but do you think that you would have the payroll flexibility, given all the uncertainties, to be a player in free agency or add a pitcher through a bigger contract?
Yeah, I think I think we're all understand that. It's again I think this year with the COVID situation and really some of the uncertainty going into next year, I think we continue to. I think we're going to check in on a lot of different situations. We've already checked in on a lot of trade possibilities and free agents from some of the top free agents in the game to guys that we feel like would be good value plays, and maybe some guys that add to the depth of what we have. I think we're going to exhaust all of that, and then how it usually works with Ron and Peter. We're able to sit down and I have a general framework of what the payroll number is going to be for next year, and definitely we work within that framework. If a situation presents itself, then we'll sit down as a group and talk about, hey, is it worth it, not worth it, et cetera. But I think from our standpoint right now, it's, operate under, the general framework, understanding that it's going to be another challenging year from a finance standpoint for all of baseball. And I think from our deal, that's why we've put so much emphasis in these, in developing our own guys. And, we've seen it, whether it's, Paddock and Lamet here in recent years that have come to the big leagues and pitch well. I think we've always kind of envisioned a situation where we look up and kind of have a self-sustaining rotation. That's unusual in the game of baseball today. But I think for us, it'll be tested here in the next few months, in the next year. But I think we're looking forward to it because we believe in a lot of the guys that are in our system right now.